are now about to go deep with Dan Good.
Hey, what's up, guys? So today, as you can see, if you're watching the podcast or if you can hear it, you won't hear anyone else. Going solo today, going deep with you guys. Now, due to COVID and its restrictions at the moment, I can't have a guest on, basically. I thought it was better to err on the side of caution here. But that's how we're doing it. Had some great guests lined up, some stunt performers, ex-MMA fighter. Yeah, we're gonna get them on though, so it's all good. We'll be back rolling, but today you're dealing with me. So basically what's been happening lately is I've been on holiday. I've been back over in New Zealand visiting the family, managed to get in before all the lockdowns happened and not get stuck over there. But I'm back in Australia now, back in the mix of things. Had an audition this week for a TV series, standard American accent, so something that was Kiwi boy. Done a little bit over the past, so you know. But it was one thing that I probably just wanted to touch on is that I was probably a little rusty, you know. I hadn't been doing a lot of classes lately, and that's something that we obviously all know as actors that we need to keep up. We need to keep our tools sharpened and in fine-tuned order, ready to go. And so it took a few takes to get back in the swing of things. Managed to not even have an actor actually reading for me. It was someone else, a young lady that helped me out. So that was awesome. Thanks to her. But it's always, you know, you want to give yourself the best opportunity when you have these things going on. And there's a lot going on personally in Queensland at the moment because other places are shut down because of COVID. And yeah, so it went all right though, you know, we got there, we got it done. But it's something that I know that I need to keep in check with myself is just being sharper with my skills. You know, and I think that's where you got to be honest with yourself as an actor, as a performer, or in any pursuit that you're following, is that you just need to be in the best shape you possibly can when the opportunities arise. And that's something that I will hold myself accountable for, you know, and accountability is something that we always need to, I feel, keep ourselves in check with. So that's something that I think we probably all know. And if we're honest with ourselves, sometimes maybe we let slip, but it's that fine line between the balance. And that's what I've found over the years, especially first coming into the game. I was just going at it like a bull in a china shop and just going hard, and didn't really look after myself, you know. And I think I've spoke about that a little bit more on the first other solo podcast that I did with the help of the Eric Morris technique and that book right there, No Acting Please, which we did touch on. So if you want to go check that out, I talk a lot more in depth about that. But that's when I really found the balance and being properly in the right situation and having my instrument, myself in check, relax, you know, meditations, things like that, whatever can help you, having that balance with the outside life and doing things out there that are enjoyable for you, you know, getting out there and traveling when you can and seeing your friends and going out, because as we all know, we got to sacrifice a lot and we can't always be going out and having fun when we're trying to pursue something like this, the acting game, because it's a tough pursuit. It's a hard pursuit, and a lot of the time is spent, you know, just by yourself doing your thing or in classes, I guess. And yeah, no one really sees the hard work behind all that and the sacrifices, but you know, that's what we choose to do in this. And I will get to that later because that is a question that came up, which I did put out on social media this week. Just wanting to know what you guys wanted to hear from me, what people that listen to the show or people that I guess follow my journey personally and what I've been doing with the podcast and my acting career, filmmaking career and everything else. And I will get to those because there's a few really good questions in there, but that was definitely one that was highlighted, but I'll get to that. The other thing I guess I really want to talk about today and start off with is a subject you hear by, I guess, a lot of motivational people and other people pursuing things in their life, but it's a common thing with motivated people that when you're pursuing something, especially like this as well, or anything that you're going for, is fear. And I'll say it a third time, fear. Now, what they say, and I don't want to be too cliche and keep going down the roads that you always hear, but fear is one of your greatest weapons. And it's one of the hardest things to confront, obviously, within yourself and what you're chasing, because we tend to push down those emotions that we don't really want to deal with, the hard ones, the hard things to look at within ourselves. the fear of disappointment, the fear of failure, the fear of not completing the task that we put out and set out for ourselves. And sometimes in this, obviously, we have high expectations of what we want to achieve. And I spoke about it a little bit with Andy Sparnon in episode 15. And it's about having those little achievable goals along the way and just reaching those little goals, and further you get up that mountaintop rather than just looking at the top and trying to reach it, straight away, because it's a really hard and sometimes unattainable thing to get to that top of the mountain. But, this is why we do it. We have hard, challenging tasks, and this is, we obviously don't roll over easy, us actors or anyone pursuing something difficult, that's for sure. So fear. I say it a third time again because it really governs how we operate. Something for me, I won't go too back into an origin story right here, but I mean, I guess I could put it down to in childhood, but I would say more teenage years in college. I always had a fear of groups, a fear of speaking in front of groups, especially. That scared the absolute shit out of me, and I'm not going to lie. And one thing I guess I used to combat that as I sat back in groups, especially like if I was with a few of my close friends, that's fine, that's all right. You're in a bit of a space, and growing up in New Zealand, you take the piss out of each other a lot. So you got to have a bit of a thick skin to even be able to operate within your own friend circle. Weird, right? But that's how it goes, and that's where you get these your comedic timing going, things like that, or you learn to let the water roll off your back, like a duck in water. I've used that analogy before, I know, but it's just that's kind of what you got to have, and especially in this game, because you deal with a lot of rejection, and you need to be able to just deal with that and move on and go to the next opportunity, and just give it your all in the opportunity in the moment that you get. But yeah, when I was in big groups, I tend to stick back, and like I was still in some cool circles or whatever you want to call it, but it was you let the loud people be loud. And they do, because they love to talk. They love to hear their own voice. This coming from someone that's speaking by himself on a podcast right now with headphones on, might I add, because I like the sound of my own voice. It's really because I'm by myself and I want to check the audio. But that was the thing. And I just let them talk, and one thing that I found that I got from that was the ability to observe. And I felt like now I realize going back on that was a huge and awesome tool to have, that ability to observe people talking and doing their own thing and talking a big game, and you just pick up little bits and pieces along the way from this person and that person. I'll think about that and I'll internalize that, and I know it's there for a later date. I don't know why, but I'm holding on to certain things, and you analyze them as you get older in life, and you realize these things, and you can actually use them as skills or attributes within yourself to be a better person. But it's something, like I didn't want to speak up. I was pretty scared of being shot down, in a group like that. And speaking, to parents and other people, as well, I think there may be about like a little bit of social anxiety in there too, but it's something that I think I've been done pretty well with combating, I think, especially in this game, what I'm chasing. To have that is not exactly a good thing or a thing that's easy to deal with, but maybe it makes these challenges and these things, worth doing as well and confronting them. That was never easy, but I didn't realize what it was until sort of now, and speaking more in depth with people about it, I can sort of cross-reference those situations and realize that maybe I had like little things like that going on, but you can't let these things deter you as well. I know they're hard, and I know it's a hard thing to combat and face, but your life's worth living, and what you want to achieve and what you want to go for is worth doing. So you can't let these little things kill your dreams. You can't let them better you. You just got to push forward and push through them, because you can get through them. You are strong enough to do that. So yeah, that happened a lot. And I was always playing sports, cricket, rugby, soccer, anything and everything really. And so I'm always in groups then, and I was still quiet a little bit then, but I knew like I had the confidence to say stuff, but I didn't quite have the confidence to back myself in those situations, I think. And It really wasn't until a really pivotal moment in my life. And sorry if I have spoken about this before. I don't know if I've spoken about it on this podcast in depth, so to speak. Maybe J.R. Hill's first ever episode of his podcast that we did so many years ago now, I spoke about it. But it was when, before I moved to Australia. So growing up in New Zealand, really small town, there's not a lot going on, but it was cool. It was a really nice place, beautiful part of the world. And that is Blenheim, New Zealand, B-Town represent. But what I found was I was in a relationship there and it was good. It was fun for a while. And then it turned to shit, as some of them do. And I let it linger on for a lot longer than I probably should have. And friends like, come on, bro, what the fuck? Get your shit together. And it was just like, it was at a point for me, a pivotal point, because it was sort of dictating a little bit of how I felt in my life and how I was going about it. And I was getting a little bored, there, and I didn't really know what to do. And I always spoke about it with one of my best mates and stuff like that, and a lot of other people about moving to Australia, and taking the chance. And at that point, when I came out of it, I was just like, well, what am I doing? Why don't I look it out? This is something that I wanted to do. It's an avenue. It's an opportunity, because I felt like there was a lot more. Plus, I just wanted to goddamn check it out, And I went over there with a friend and it was great. And I felt really homely about Brisbane and Queensland itself, and it's a beautiful place. And I was like, you know what, I could definitely see myself living here. And anyway, I took the chance, got a job over here, moved over by myself, heart on my sleeve, and just ready to live go down another avenue in my life. And that's what I did. And that was a scary time, there was a lot of fear there because I had nothing to fall back on. My parents are great. They've always helped me, and I drove them up the wall, and they'll tell you that I was a little shit at times, real little shit. And I know that. And I couldn't apologize for it more. But, that's part of life and growing up, right? And so I came over there and started the job. It was weird, new people, just foreign country, foreign people. I'm a foreigner in this country, and I had to really find my feet, And that was a scary time, and I was still getting through, what I was getting through and finding my confidence again. And something that helped me was going to the gym and started training. One opened up there. I'm still going to that gym like 9.5 years later, funnily enough, after moving so many different places in the city. But I just went at it and I started training, and I started really feeling good about myself, and really getting that confidence within myself and what I was trying to do. Not that I really knew what I was trying to do at this point. It was just living life in something new and new opportunities. But I just, this fire started getting ignited within myself. And that's what I could honestly say about working out. It clears the mind, and it really it gives you something to strive for and some confidence, within yourself. So anyone that's thinking about it, go out there and do the damn thing, because it's so beneficial. I can barely go a day without training or doing something exercise, because it just really does clear the clutter out of my mind, and that helps with everything that I got to do in a day in life, and especially with acting and everything else. You don't need to have those hindrance on you, because you want to give as much of your facilities about you to go and do what you need to do. And yeah, that confidence, it just started really igniting in me. And so I was trying to get back in the game, I was trying to go out with some young lasses over here, and there's some absolute beautiful stunners over here in Australia. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing, I used to do it right, but I didn't really know what I was doing. But one thing that I found with that confidence is that I just thought, you know what, like, it's time to swing for the fences. If you want to hit a home run, you're not going to do nothing just sitting in the dugout and not getting up to the plate and having a swing. And it was just that shift in my mind. It just starting to I was like, you know what? I don't even care if I fail. I don't even care if this girl shoots me down right now, because once I did it the first time, the confidence that I felt after that and the relief, I was like, oh, well, that wasn't so bad. It's time to take another swing. What the hell, And every time, I didn't even care if they said yes or I got their number or anything even eventuated from it. It was just the confidence within myself to take a swing and take that leap and try, and not let that fear of rejection and failure get the better of me. And it just started that fire just kept going and igniting and getting bigger and bigger, and I just kept going for it, And then that's how I found, and I just fell into it, and that's when people asked me. I just fell into acting and filmmaking, and I don't even, it was something that I think I always wanted to do anyway, but it was just there, and I just fell into it, and then the confidence from that, and I was just going at it so hard all the time because I loved it. I'd never been in a situation like that where people are really good, and maybe I struck it right with the right amount of people. I always believe that, the good energy that you put out there will come back to you, you put out there in the universe and with people, and you have love and respect for them, and you support them, and they'll do the same to you. And the toxic people, the other people that don't really matter, are going to fall along the wayside anyway, because they're going to show their true colors pretty early on, with this sort of thing. And that's what it was. But I'd never been in a situation with getting so much praise before, or just people giving you that time and wanting to invest into you and you into them. And it's such a beautiful thing, because when you don't have it, I mean, unless the only thing you can kind of compare it to if you're a sports star, I guess, and they blow smoke up your ass because you're the best player in the team. But it wasn't like that. It was just like, people were just so nice about it, or just so, I don't even know. It's a different world, and we've spoken about this before. It's just you feel you've got the ability to be you, and pull these things out of the deep recesses of your mind and your soul and your body, and to play these characters. And they're encouraging that. You're in encouraging environments to go about that, and that's just such a special thing in that creative realm. To be able to do that. And for me, that was it was amazing. So I just kept going at it, and sure, there was some roles and some films that I wanted to be a part of that maybe I didn't get, but a lot of the stuff I was going for, I was getting, or getting quite far with the casting process, or would get another smaller support role if I didn't get the lead role, or I was a part of it in some way, and that's building those networks up. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is that's taking a swing, facing that fear early on, or late on in life, I guess you could say, being in early 20s and doing all that. It really built me as a man, built me as a human, and it led me to find out more things about myself by taking those swings and facing those fears and putting myself out there. Because in this game, that's what you're doing. You're putting everything on the line. And sometimes it doesn't always go the best of ways, so to speak, because, you put it all out there. And sometimes in these situations with people that you are talking to, or you are investing in and giving your energy to, it doesn't always reciprocate back, And I'm sure we've all had times where that's happened as well, and whether it be relationships and stuff too as well. And that's happened to me as well, and that was something to deal with, I guess that's the other side of the hill, isn't it? The other point of the sword is that sometimes this can hurt you as well, when you're facing these fears and you're putting yourself out there. And I can honestly say I've had that happen to myself in the worst situations, with great friends, and going at certain things, like being a part of a film and a family, a film family, and that's a tough thing to come back from, it really is. Like, I possibly thought I might have talked more about this at some other point on the pod with other people that I know that I've had on, but it just never really came up, and it did to a certain extent, but I haven't gone in depth with those, and maybe that's another podcast in itself for when that happens. But, I still wouldn't change it for anything, because the situations that I've been through have definitely taught me lessons to go forward later on in life, and why they were so goddamn hard at the time and gut-wrenching and emotional and really hurt, I was stronger for it, I could say I lost bits of myself along the process, but I mean, that's life, like, it's just, you can't hold on to everything when you're putting yourself out there like that. All you can do is do the best ability that you can to really, build up that Teflon skin a little more. And it's hard when you're supposed to be vulnerable and you're supposed to be open and you're supposed to be putting it all out there. But that's just you learn these things along the way in life, and you use them to better yourself, and go at the things that you're trying to achieve, the goals that you set for yourself in life, the opportunities you're making for yourself in this game. But I guess, like I said, I wouldn't change it for anything. And that's the thing about fear, and you use it to propel yourself because, it can be your greatest Achilles heel and it can be your greatest weapon, because as I just explained then, that fear of moving over here or putting myself out there and being vulnerable. Once I said, fuck it, and excuse my French if you don't like swearing, but it's the best word for it, I feel, at the time, is that once you throw that away, it really leaves you to grasp those things within that you were probably blocking before, that you were probably pushing down because you didn't want to face them. You didn't want to confront that fear within you, and you didn't want to know about it. You just put it aside. We justify things. That's something we're really good. Something I'm really good at doing, but I think it's something that us humans are very, very good at doing, is justifying our means, why we're not doing something or why we do something. It's a human trait, I guess. One of the most human traits, I feel, sometimes. But yeah, and that's where you find out something about yourself. You find out what you're made of when you confront those fears, and that's what I say, that you can use it to propel yourself forward. Because without failure, there can't be growth, and without growth, we can't get better, and without being better, we can't attain these things that we want to in life, because we're setting such high goals for ourselves. And that's just part of being a performer, part of being an entertainer, part of going on this journey of life to succeed in what you choose to succeed in life, and what's your fullest life. What do you judge that to be, because everybody's different. Some people don't even want to do this kind of shit, They just want to live their life, and they just want to have kids, and they want to have that fulfilling life in that regard. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and that's an amazing thing in itself, and it's something I hope to have for myself as well along the way. But right now I've got things that I want to achieve before I get to those, and that is a sort of a bit of a question that I've been asked as well by some of the people that submitted those. But we can get to that, or maybe we could get to that now. Why not? Let's do it. One question that was asked was by my mate Luke. What was your most embarrassing scene you had to shoot? Jesus, that's a question. And it's funny because the scenes that you think would be embarrassing aren't always embarrassing. Like I've had the series Hard Knock Life, that I was on. You can check that out on Amazon Prime in the US, or Tubi, Plex, Hoopla. It's on a bunch of platforms. The links in my bios on the Instagram and all the rest of it, if you want to check that out. But there was a lot of sex antics in that show, sexual innuendo, a lot of scenes that were just quite bizarre in that regard. And it wasn't embarrassing. Yeah, like we had a bunch of sex toys in this one scene, and I had this gothic chick that was I was supposed to be the ladies' man, in this scenario, but as often with a lot of ladies' man, so per se, they've got other things that they're dealing with that they've pushed down, and that's probably why they're going about the way they do with women and things like this. And so I talked a big game, and she busts out this big black dildo, like this big. It's Kong, like this thick. I'm telling you, it was huge. Size of this microphone girth, thick. And she was trying to shove it in my mouth and use all these sex toys on me and things like that. It was pretty funny. But even that wasn't embarrassing. That was just hilarious, especially with the cameraman riding me at some point to get the POV angle of this chick trying to, do these things to me was hilarious. And shout out to Jace. Bro, that wasn't really embarrassing, and it's like other situations too. I've had to do like naked bathtub scenes and things like this, and and you're concentrating so hard on doing a good job at the time that you're not really embarrassed because you're just so in the scene. And it's not like you're getting aroused or anything too when you think you would, when you got a like really sexy chick right across from you in the bathtub, pretty much naked. And you're not really aroused by those situations is because you're just so focused on what you have to do, the job at hand. Working out naked before in a room full of guys. J.R. Hill, shout out. Agent 88 coming soon, hopefully. Should be finished. But yeah, I had to work out naked with like a sock on my cock. Excuse the French once again, but it rhymes, so I said it. And that was with a bunch of blokes in the room. It was really funny and good times. But embarrassing. I mean, and that's the thing, like you're putting yourself out there, like we said as entertainers, we don't get embarrassed all that easy. It's generally by the most bizarre things. And it's a good question, but I'm trying to think, like on the spot. Like, look, I glanced over these questions before, but I just wanted to come in fresh, and talk to you guys candidly on the flow of things. This is how we do on this podcast. You know that. None of this is really prepared overly. We're just going with the flow. Unedited, uncut, raw action. I don't know. What else is embarrassing? Yeah, I can't actually think of a good scene where I was embarrassed overly. I guess probably one. Yeah, I've got one, and it's a weird one because it's probably like I've just said those things that I've just spoke about now. It wouldn't be when you'd think you would get embarrassed, but a tough scene that I know that I had to do, and this stems back to what I was speaking about before, is that when I was in college and stuff and doing speeches for school, absolutely hated them. Petrified, did not want to do it at all. Most terrifying things I can remember doing was speeches at school. And now I'm acting, done stand-up comedy on stage and all these other things, but that's about facing those fears as I was speaking about before, because I knew I had to do it, because I knew I could delve into things within me if I faced those. But it was when I was doing the scene, I was playing a detective, Tobias Kane, in Alpha Masji, and I was one of the lead detectives on the case, and I had to speak in front of like probably 10, 15 extras in the briefing room and a whole lot of crew around me, and it was a big scene for me. It was like my opening scene in the film, and I had to have this big, long lament, as J.R. Hill writes, with a lot of massive words that I did not know how to pronounce before we started, that I had to look up. And that was tough, like I was really quite nervous and thought of, like the thought of the I guess it was more the perception of being embarrassed, doing that in front of everyone and stuffing it up. But I got through it pretty fine. I may have rushed it when I look at it in hindsight after I've seen it, but like all actors, when we watch these things that we do, we're like, damn, I could have done better in that scene. And that's just the growth process and what you're hard on yourself as an actor. That was tough. And there was like moments where it could have been that way, but I used it in the scene. Because my character, whilst he was pretty good at that stuff, was a little funny on other ways, and the way I built him up to be in that regard. So, Luke, I know I just ranted there and I didn't really actually answer your question because I don't really recall being overly too embarrassed in a scene, although I probably should have. And another question he asked was, how many takes does it normally take you to shoot one scene? I mean, that can vary, as we all know. He's a comedy fan, He doesn't probably exactly know the game, in itself. Like I said before, sometimes when you're rusty, it takes a little bit to dust off the cobwebs and get going. But you usually only get a few takes of a scene, You usually only get 2 to 3 takes maybe of a scene when you're shooting something decent. It depends on your time restraints, as all films are under, and some are very limited. When you started out with short films, student films, they've got a bit of time. They allow time for the students to grow and the people to get what they want from the scenes. But But generally speaking, yeah. And it generally takes that take or two to really get the flow on. Especially if you haven't had rehearsals and stuff, which you don't always have that luxury. But sometimes you do, and then you're better for it, obviously, because you've rehearsed it with your scene partners and you kind of just jive together a lot better. But I don't need to tell the other performers that because they are quite aware of the situation. So yeah, another question he did ask as well. Who was the nicest big time actor you met, and who was the snobbish one who seemed to not want anything to do with anyone else that wasn't an A-list? All good if you can't name names, he says. Wow. There's a few. I honestly, like being a part of Thor Ragnarok, Taika Waititi's film with Chris Hemsworth, as the lead, Idris Elba, Tessa Thompson, there's so many others, Tom Hiddleston and that in there. They're really good, like I could say it's interesting because I'll say this little story, and I'm probably going to get some shit for this one, but when I was first going down the studios, Warner Brothers Studios down there, Roadshow Studios on the Gold Coast, they were shooting the Thor Ragnarok, and I was lucky enough to get asked to go down there and do camera tests. And those of you who don't know what camera tests are, it's like it was the first day Taika Waititi was actually on set there to check out like the lighting and everything and the costumes and what have you. And I was playing an Asgardian from Chris Hemsworth, Thor's homeworld. And there really hadn't been too many people down there, I believe, from at that point. Only like, makeup artists and crew and everyone getting all the sets, set decorators and set builders and getting all that stuff because they had to build some extravagant sets, which is an amazing thing to see when you get to be a part of those, Hollywood big budget films. So I was down there and I was in my Asgardian outfit, And so they were testing it out, and I was with another young lady, Pearl. She was, in the female version of the Asgardian outfit. And so it was pretty cool, like I was so friggin' excited when I go down to those studios, just because I've never, small town kid, man. You never seen anything like that before. And you just, oh man, that energy is just thriving within you. And anyway, I was down there, got in my costume, hair and makeup, all the rest of it. And so they're taking me in my little golf cart to go on set for the camera test, and I like jump off the back and I'm like walking down, and I'm just feeling real good, like there was just this feeling of like I felt like I was meant to be there. It felt like I was in the right place at the right time in this life that I'm living right now. And I was walking along, about to go into the studio, and I see this big figure coming up and walking down, and he's dressed up in armor and things like this, and I'm just like, oh shit, I think I know who that is. And I like walking up, getting closer, and I'm just like, I don't want to stare and be awkward, but I was just like going about my thing, I felt pretty good at the time, so I was just in my own energy and going, and he's walking closer towards me, and we sort of just make eye contact and just stay in each other's energy, which felt like, 30 seconds, which was probably only a couple of seconds. And we just stayed there, in each other's energy, just gauging each other, and then just a little, what's up, man? And it was Chris Hemsworth, and I just thought that was real cool. I walked away from that going, man, this feels right. This feels good, And then he came in and he was actually doing the camera test with us, and he came in and said hello. Nicest guy out there, honestly. That's what I'm trying to say, is he was really nice to us, says hello, does our thing, and then boom. And then later on, obviously, in the shooting and everything, real cool dude. He was talking to the extras, like from take to take, just real laid back, cool Aussie dude, looks like he likes to have a good time, would be really fun to hang out with, and just he was cool, calm and collected, and obviously he'd done that before, but these were big films, like Thor. You got to remember that when he did his first Thor movie, him and Tom Hiddleston, they were taking a real chance on these guys. They were like no names, so to speak, but they had done obviously stuff before and they were good actors, but they hadn't had a big Hollywood chance, an opportunity yet, and that was this for them, was the first Thor movies. And this was going on. I think they'd done 1 and 2. This might have been like the third one, or maybe there was 3 Thors, and then this was like the 4th kind of spin-off Thor Ragnarok, you know. And they're doing another one at the moment, Love and Thunder in Sydney. And that was a cool moment, but he was awesome. And the same on that film, Idris Elba was awesome. Always talking to everyone on set, you know, like really good with the kids and stuff. He was cool, such a cool dude. And yeah, a lot of them I've found to be just, they're great. They're cool. They're awesome people. And I guess they have to be, right? Because if you don't, then it's going to show up pretty quickly. If you're a egomaniac to work with, or you're an asshole, you know, people are going to hear about that and not going to want to do movies with you, like the studios and stuff like that, unless you're just the biggest draw card going around, which some of them are, obviously, I'm sure. But and you hear about those people, you know, but they were all cool, man. And that was, yeah, great experiences. And the only one that I would have said was, look, it is what it is. Tom Hiddleston, I know, he seemed a bit weird, although I know my mate was, a female friend of mine was in the scenes with him, and he was quite flirty with her apparently, so she says. But he did come off a little like he had a bit of an ego on him, and a little, I don't know, just like didn't really want to deal with the extras that much. And I don't blame him, because you got to do these scenes, you know, and they're the main actors. They're the ones delivering and carrying this goddamn movie, you know. But then again, I thought about it later on, you know, and I like him. Don't get me wrong. I like a lot of stuff that he's in. The Night Manager, terrific TV series. The Loki one at the moment, he's awesome on playing that character. But Loki is a mischievous character. He can be like that. And I guess he was, you know, as I was talking about before, you use these environmental things and the people around you to aid those emotions within you that you're trying to tap into to play the roles, you know. And I thought about it a lot more, and he's a mischief, and he's a lot like that in these scenes, and that's his character. So forgive you, bro. No, he's good. But yeah, I've never really met a bad A-list, so to speak, actor that's like seemed like they've been dramatic on set, or been, you know, drama queens, or like, you know, anything like that. So it's hard to pick one of those out. They've all been awesome, to answer your question there. Same with Jason Momoa on Aquaman. He was awesome. Like we spent probably a good 3 weeks, I would say. We're in one of those opening scene, or his opening scene of the movie, of the first Aquaman, where you bust into the submarine, and me and like probably 8 other dudes or so, friends of mine, we're all playing Russian submariners, and we get killed at the start by the guy comes in with the souped up machine gun thing and kills us all. So we're like playing dead this whole time of this 3 weeks, but we get to see these guys act this whole action sequence out with all the stunt performers, and just, you know, wires going everywhere with the stunt performers. If those who don't know, they're hooked up onto wires, and like when they get hit by, say, Aquaman or whatever happens, they fly across the room into different parts of us almost, and different parts of the ship, and like they bust them up, and they're like replacing like control panels with the dented ones after to do the other takes. And it's a crazy awesome thing to see, and like the construction and everything that goes into building these sets is just absolutely phenomenal when you see it. And the money spent, you know, obviously that's why they have these big budgets, as well as paying these actors that cash money. But he was awesome, man. We're in a tight space all the time, and he's got to do all this stuff all the time. Massive, huge amount of agility and athleticism to be able to do these stunts too, with these talented as stunt performers that and some of them were flown in America, some of them are the really good core stunt team that they have here in Australia. And they were awesome, man. And like, but he was just a happy-go-lucky guy, you know. He's rapping along, talking to the guys all the time, saying hello, like all these random things, eh? But and he was just an awesome dude. So couldn't, you know, speak more highly of him. And I had a funny interaction with him actually in the toilets, like, because I had my Russian submariner gears on, like we had like overalls and all this stuff that we had to zip up over our like blue and white striped sailor tops. So I was in there, you know, doing my thing, taking a piss, whatever. And I was just fixing myself up as I'm walking out, trying to quickly get back on set, you know, like doing up my pants. I'm like looking down as I'm walking out, and then I'm just like, boom, just straight into the 6-pack of abs. And I'm like, oh, what's up, man? Sorry. And he's just like, all good, brother. Like, and it's just that it's Jason Momoa topless. Girls, you would have loved it. Just hardcore, chiseled six pack, tattoos all over him, because the Aquaman tattoos are badass. And just, yeah, it was just funny. I'm at crotch height of him. it was an interesting scenario to be in with a guy like that. But man, he's cool. He could have, gone back to his trailer, or every single time he wanted to go to the toilet, if they want to, they would stop set for him to do that. But he's just going to the same toilets that we are, and all the other extras that were there that doing that. So he's just an awesome guy is what I'm trying to say. And they've been, nothing but couldn't talk any highly of them. And even at the after party and stuff like that I happened to go to at one point, a friend of mine told me to come in, and managed to get me and a couple of friends in the door through some persuasive words of just on the spot flowing with it, got us in, and it was great. And I actually had the opportunity to have a drink with Tessa Thompson, who she's amazing, and really good conversation with her. And that was great time, and I had a few to drink, so I was very, very chatty, and may have tried to flirt with her at some point, I will admit. But I keep getting cock blocked by one of the special effects dudes that was clearly trying to get into her. I'd been working on it for weeks on end, months on end. Damn you. But nah, it was great. It was fun. Good times. And she was terrific. I had a really good, insightful conversation with her, and she's very spiritual, and that showed in the conversation that we had, and she's terrific. And they've got time for you, and that was just me. I was actually having a conversation with the armorer, and for quite a long, 20 minutes or so, and she's really cool too. Don't want to name names all the time, but it's just, and she's like, do you want to meet Tessa? And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And she took me through there, to see her and stuff. And so that was cool. But as I'm saying, man, they've all been awesome. None of them have really been snobbish at all. So that's a cool thing, and it's so good to see, because they have every right to be. When you're on set, you don't really want to be bothered by extras and stuff, and you don't really want to be distracted, from your task at hand, because as we know, you got to concentrate when you're on these things, but you got to go off the flow too and have a bit of fun with what you're trying to do. And that clearly showed on sets of those movies, like Taika Waititi having a great time with it, with Chris and Tessa, and that joking all the goddamn time, and that showed in the movie. That movie was amazing. It basically reignited the Thor series for them, and hence why they're doing another one, bringing Natalie Portman back for Thor: Love and Thunder, and a lot of hugely A-list actors, and I'm sure that film's going to be great too, and really ignited Taika Waititi on the scene, although he'd done some awesome films before then, and TV series and stuff, but it really put him on the map as far as Hollywood's concerned. And he's doing directing roles and acting in the new Mandalorian series, and probably going to do the second season, I believe, and doing all these amazing films that he's getting now, and that just is a nod to him and the set that he ran, and about being a carefree, happy-go-lucky director. It really shows on set with the way he's dealing with his actors, and that shows in the final product of the film. When you're having a good time, you're going to make a good product, and that's something that I've definitely been witnessed and had over the films that I've shot, and you have some that aren't as great, and sometimes it shows, and sometimes it actually shows for the better when you're not when the director's putting you through your paces and being a bit of an ass. Sometimes it's for the right thing. He's trying to get something out of you in that scene, and that's how he's going about what he's going about, and not everyone's like that, and most of them aren't, but some of the good ones are too. And I respect that, because at the end of the day, we're there to do a job. This is an art form, and we're there to play a role. He's there to capture what we're doing and get the best out of us, therefore the best for the film, and I'm all 100% for that, because that's what goes. I love a rant, don't I? Okay, let's get to another question. This one's from Cami. What single moment at any point in your life ignited the passion you have for acting, podcasting, and connecting to others? Wow. And how do you find the drive to make this a reality? Why is it so important to you? All good questions, and all, I guess, can be explained together, really. One single moment, like I say, that moment that I spoke about before about rebuilding myself and coming over to Australia and falling into the acting game, it just felt right. I just felt like what I was supposed to do. And after doing it, I remember my sister even said to me, do you remember when we used to make those home, like we had the home handy cam, you know, and me and my mate Daz, we used to do stupid little funny little horror movies, and we'd make these little I don't even know, skits and stuff like that. I had completely forgotten about these things, and she told me about it. She's like, I've still got them on VHS tape that's been re-enhanced or whatever, so she could see them. And I need to get a look at those. And I spoke about that with my mate when I caught up with him in NZ. We want to see those because I barely remember, but it's just I think I must have always wanted to do it. And always wanted to do acting and be a part of films, because especially growing up too, is that, I don't know if other people can relate to this or not, but sometimes when you're not living these moments in your life, and like I said, that I was a little quiet and held myself back at times, you're living through those movies, you're learning things about them, and whether it be right or wrong in this day and age or this world, you're kind of living through it, and you get so much enjoyment out of watching films or movies, and I think maybe that for me, it gave me so much, I believe. So that's why I wanted to give back. And that's what made me one of the many reasons why I wanted to go down this path and be involved in films and acting and filmmaking is that it's just such an amazing thing, and I wanted to give back. And it inspired me to do a lot of things in my life and want to chase down different avenues in my life through the things I saw in film. I thought, whoa, is that out there in the real world? And so I wanted to go down that path, and I wanted to experience those things for myself. And therefore, if I can give genuine, amazing performances, or the best I possibly can do with what I was doing, that I could actually give this back to somebody else. There could be another younger person like myself, male, female, what have you, that gets something from the performance or from the podcast that I'm doing or from anything that I do in these creative avenues that I'm going down, is that they can get something from that, or I can inspire them to chase their dreams and what they want to do, because I was once inspired in that way as well. And for that, to believe in that, and especially, like I say, coming from a small town, there wasn't a lot of talk about that you could do these things. I remember having specific conversations about this, oh, you're not going to be an actor, you're not going to be this, you're not going to be that, what do you really want from your life? And it's well, why not? Why can't I be these things? Why can't I do this? Because I feel like I can. I've got something within me that says to me that I can do this. So I'm going to go for this, and I'm going to do this. And I did, and I'm doing it, and it's just that, I think. And through podcasting, especially when I found podcasting, it's I was referred to it by my mate Tristan, who used to help with the podcast a bit, he got me onto them, Joe Rogan and the likes of it, and other acting and podcasts and stuff like that. And I was just this is just an amazing source of information. And this is amazing conversations that I want to have with other people, that I'm getting from when I'm listening to these guys or girls or females, and I'm getting so much information that I can put to my life, and that I can better it and push me forward further to the things that I want to achieve. And it's an amazing thing. You get amazing life lessons from some of these guys, and some of these people that you're listening to, that maybe you hadn't looked at those certain things or looked at that in life that in that way, that you can apply to your own. And that's an amazing thing. So I love to talk. I love the sound of my own voice. No, I'm kidding. But I do love to talk, and I love to connect with people. And through acting and filmmaking, I feel like I can reach the largest amount of people the easiest way and the best way by portraying these characters. And if I can do that, then to me, that's an amazing thing. That's something that I want to dedicate my life to, is connecting with other people, because I absolutely love having conversations with people. Doesn't matter who it is, like strangers, anyone I meet, I'm always strumming up conversations with people. And I love that. I love connecting with people and hearing about how they do what they do and go about the things that they do. And because I can learn from that as well. And, and that's a podcast in one, like you can sit down for whether it be half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, that's a conversation. You are locked in with that other person, especially when you got mics and headphones. You are just locked into that conversation, and it's just something special about that. And that's the number one, my favorite part about doing this podcast, Going Deep with Dan Good, is that I get to go deep with other people that I love and respect and that I support what they're doing. And I get to find out the little synchronicities about how they go about their daily life and how about they go about achieving these goals that they're setting for themselves and the things that they want to achieve. And I find that absolutely fascinating. And I hope people do that are listening as well, because to me, you can get so much of it. It's just valuable, totally valuable information for you. And it's like anything in life, you learn best by doing it yourself and being hands-on and learning from your mistakes. As we said, that's how you grow. But you can also learn some things not to do or some good things to do to help get the best out of you by these other people that you're talking to or that you're listening to. And to me, it's just the most valuable commodity that we can have, is having real, genuine conversations with one another. And I believe that is amazing. And that's probably my only knock, on like little bits of social media, or maybe this day and age of like little snippets and this and that, is that you can just lose all the good stuff in that. And you can just judge things on such little platforms, like little videos and stuff and you just don't get to see the full amount. You don't get to see the full conversation, the full information, the full agenda by someone and what they're talking about, and you judge so straight away and so flippantly on those conversations, those little snippets that you hear. And it's just not a good way to go about it, Do some friggin' research and look into it a little more than just judge people on just the little clips and things that you see. That's my only knock on like the cancel culture side of things in that regard. It's just that, yeah, but let's not go down to a negative point, because this is all really positive. And that's 100%. It's just that's what I love doing, And I'm just trying to read the questions at the same time. How do you find the drive to make this a reality? I mean, that's what I believe in. That's what I like. That's what I feel like is an amazing thing about life. And so that's what drives me to keep doing it, And it's hard. It's hard to get guests sometimes. It's hard to work the schedules around everybody to sort this out and get this to you guys, And you have hurdles like today where I have to do this myself, and be one-on-one. But it gives me a chance to talk to you guys one-on-one solo. And for you to get to know a bit more about my backstory and why I'm doing this and why I love doing the podcast, and why I like to do it for you guys, and I just hope this audience builds, and I love and respect everyone that supported the podcast so far, and we're growing. We're just building this thing, man. It's developing on its own. And it's why I haven't pushed to do ads and sponsors and things like that and try to monetize off this. Is like, this is costing me money to do, but I don't mind, because it's an invaluable resource that I've got with you guys and connecting to you and connecting to the guests that I generally have on the podcast. And to me, that's just an amazing thing. So it's just a part of life, and something that I choose to do. And that's what drives me to keep doing it. So I hope you like it. Why is it important to you? Well, I've just basically really explained all that, I guess, and with that. But Bernard, my man, Bernard Mina, we had on the podcast there. Great guy. Why acting? Why not something else? Great question. Something that we spoke about on the podcast a bit ourselves is just like, why would you put yourself through this? It's tough, man. It's one of the hardest things you can try and go and do. Anything, I guess, worth doing in life, and it is. Why, I guess, well, I did speak about that too. Why is just because it just feels good. It feels like something I'm supposed to do, I love connecting with others, and that's why like the acting portion of it is like an artistic and creative expression, and there's always been, like I say, I held myself back at times when I was growing up, and so that there's like little recesses of my mind and my body and my soul and what I want to bring out, that I get to bring out in these characters that I may not get to actually pursue in real life. And I think that's an amazing part about acting, is that you get to play these cool roles, you get to be a spy, you get to be Sometimes you get to be the bad guy. You get to do all these things that are like different and take on these different characters that it's really exciting to do. You're not hurting anyone, you know. You're doing it for entertainment. You're doing it for other people's entertainment because you're producing these bodies of artwork. And like any artwork, it's on self-expression. You know, on our side, we're creating something that's artistic for us. We have that creative flair, that expression. We're delving into something within ourselves that we're putting out there, and then it's like the artist, well, the director like tweaks it and molds it, you know, then the editor does the same thing when they go around to do their thing, and they put the score and the music to it, and that can really heighten the emotion or dampen it or whatever it does, you know. But then it's like from the viewer's point of view, they get to watch it back, and then that's their own artistic expression because they get to judge for themselves what they think of it, you know, and what emotion that it irks up inside of them, and therefore it creates something else in their life, you know. And it's just so many expressive ways to look at that, and to really embrace it, you know, from an artistic standpoint. It's an amazing thing to do. And that's why, man, because I love to create, you know. It's something that I probably maybe stealthful or didn't delve into because I held myself back. And now I get to do that in just the best environments going around. It's an amazing thing to be on a set. It's an amazing thing to be there with a bunch of cool creatives, you know, and we're all got our own skills and our own things that we're good at and we're maybe not so good at, but we're combining them together to make a beautiful piece of art, and that you get to see, you know, as a film, as a TV show, as a podcast. I still see it as art, and just it's an expression, and it's an awesome thing to do and to go down. Yeah, and just lastly, I don't have it written down there, but I know my mate MJ sent it through. He actually said to me, you know, what's your 1 year plan? What's your 5 year? What's your 10-year plan? And how are you going to go about doing it? That's a tough question. But you know what? It's a valid question. And I know deep down why he's asking me it. Because we've had those chats before, you know, we did a bit of training together along the way, and we spoke about possibly going to Canada at other points to pursue because it was a good market and a good way. They shoot a lot of stuff there, you know. He's in Sydney now. He moved to Sydney from Brisbane to do his thing there, and now he's like a qualified stunt performer, and I have spoken about him before on the podcast about wanting to get him on, and we just got to navigate that and try and get him on at some point. And he's doing great things, and I know he's been on some big films lately too with it because he's got himself qualified as a stunt performer, and he's also an actor, you know, and an awesome dude, and he's going about what he's doing. So I love and respect that. And that question, you know, that's a tough one. I've never really been a planner. I do plan things, but it's just something about, I guess, I do have plans. I will say that. I've got a lot of plans. But I like to go with the flow. I like to live in the moment, and I feel like that's the best ways to find out things about yourself, you know, and what you're made of, and the organic way of doing it, because I don't like to have an agenda. I see through people with agendas, you know, when you're talking to them, and in this business, that happens a lot. And they're not really the people that I want to associate myself around, you know. But that's not to say that plans aren't great, because like I spoke about reaching the top of that mountain, that you need these little plans, these little goals within yourself to achieve these things. And I guess when you put it to a 1 year plan, you know, for me right now is to keep putting these podcasts out consistently. As you know, we've been putting them out one a month, and I want to do more. I really do. And that's what I really see myself doing in under that year's time is hopefully I want to be to the point where I'm putting them out at least one a week, you know, but I am putting things in place to get a studio and get that set up going. So I have everything set up here, so I don't have to keep setting everything up every time before I do these podcasts. And it just creates more room for people to come around and do the podcasts all the time, and consistently get them out there and build this bigger and bigger. You know, there's ways to do it. I got to get some Google keywords. I got to get better with the social media side of things and getting people involved. And that's me talking to people that are better in these areas than I am. And so we can get more eyes, more ears on the podcast. And that's for sure something that I'm putting in place to happen. And also eventually, obviously I would like to make some sort of monetization on the podcast, but really that's not the most important thing to me. But it is because in the way of I can keep creating and keep giving you guys this content in it. Because like I said, it's costing me at the moment, which I don't mind because I get a lot from it. But that's something I'm putting in place as well. Also, and I hope my boss doesn't watch this or people from my work, but look, I work on cars as a trade and have done for a while. And it's, I won't sound too dramatic and say that I die inside every day I walk in there, but it's not it's not creating more creativity for me. It's not tapping into the things that I want to do. It's not what I want to do for a job. And right now that's basically one of my number one priorities. And I'm not turning on the podcast genre because I believe this is the way of the future, and people are seeing that now with the numbers that people are putting out that dwarf radio really. But I have been applying for radio gigs. It's something I believe that I'll be good at. It's another platform, for me. Or whether I get on a network that has, more professional podcasts with a bigger audience already or what have you, or build it up from there with something behind you, a network behind you. That's what I'm doing at the moment, and that's what I endeavor to get out of. But also, I'm still acting. I endeavor to put a lot more time into my acting and energy into my acting, and getting out of the full-time job will 100% give me that freedom. And that's probably one of the number one priorities for me right now is getting that and giving myself a situation to better myself and be a better actor, better performer, better podcaster, and better content creator. It is giving myself that opportunity to invest in myself and put more quality content out there. And that's what I'm going down the road of right now. And that's one of the number one priorities. But still in life also I have, and also my entertainment company, YIN YANG ENT. That's what we produce the podcast under, done bulk short films and other videos and things like this for people. I consistently am working on that too. And that's another avenue, but they all work with each other, and now I have a lot of plans for that to be bigger. With other avenues that I want to go down to when I get a bigger studio space as well with that. But we'll sit on that for a little while because I'm not one to overly talk about what hasn't happened. There's things in place, there's moving parts to this, and there is a plan to the bigger thing. But I don't want to put everything out there, I'm big on putting it out there to come to fruition and putting it out there in the universe and putting that good positive energy out there. But, there's processes to this, and we all do it differently. But also just personally in life, like at the moment I'm single again. I know I've spoken about it once or twice on the podcast. I did have a girlfriend a while ago and she's awesome, but that didn't work out, and that is what it is, But my personal life, I want to grow that. I want to ride or die partner, and that's part of what's in there, in the plan, because I do want that, and eventually, have a little family of my own, but like I spoke about before, it's like I've got energy and attention that I need to give to everything I'm creating right now. And I just strongly believe it'll all work out, once the dominoes will roll in effect once the first one gets knocked over, the first real good big one. So that'll happen, But I guess that molds into a 1 and a 5 year and 10 year plan, and it's something that I'll honestly say, and I'll be straight up with you, that I don't have that set exactly in motion right now with the bigger picture of the bigger plans. I have an idea of what I'm doing, and I know I'm achieving all these little goals along the way to the bigger plan. But I don't have it formulated exactly per se in writing of like this to this and this and this of this time period, because I think time periods are a hard thing to work with as well. Whilst it is good because it keeps you honest and accountable of what you're trying to achieve, they can be unrealistic too in such an ever changing industry, and it's hard to put it down. But right now, what I concentrate on is having all these things in place, the dominoes in place for when the first one really knocks over and say goes viral or what have you, the first really big rolling opportunity that do end up landing that's really big, is that these other things are going to all roll off and be knocked down at the same time, the domino effect of it all. And that's why I work on so hard behind the scenes on all these other avenues that I want to happen, because I know once that first one is really going, that the rest of them are just going to roll off from there. And being prepared for that situation when it happens in life is a number one priority for me, and what I strongly, strongly believe in having there. And that's it, man. But it's something, MJ, I hold myself accountable for, and that I'm really working on at the moment is that bigger picture, that bigger plan, that bigger 10-year plan, 5-year plan. I have sketches, I have outlines, but it's something that I've definitely because I've had this holiday recently, I've had time to refocus and re-energize, and because I was just working so hard at everything, is that I've had time to think about those things, and it's on the list, brother. It's on the list to be dealt with and to be planned, and it's something that I'll be doing very soon, and really putting it down and working out those little goals. But like I said, I know that it's the little goals to get to the bigger picture and to get to those bigger plans and achieving those bigger goals. But that's what I'll say today, guys. This is we talked for a while here, we did the hour or so. So that was me, and us going solo and going deep. And I hope you enjoyed today. I hope you got something from it, no matter what it is, or even if you just got to know me a little better and what I'm about. And I hope you continue to go on this journey with me. We're doing this together, We're going deep, and with these other entertainers, these other artists, and everyone that we have on the podcast. And I'm going to continue to do this, and I hope you guys enjoy the content that we're putting out there and everything we're doing with the podcast. And just keep following us. It's love and respect you guys, support you, go out what you're doing, never fear the air. Brenda McCullen, cricketer. No one's going to really know that one, but never fear the opportunity in front of you. You just got to go for it and take a swing, because taking that swing is eventually one of them's going to go for a home run, and then you're going to be in the zone and you're going to be where you want to be, and you're going to have things there to work with, and things there and a power within you to actually achieve these goals that you're setting for yourself. So go for it, go hard, do the work in between. It's hard. The sacrifices you have to make. Go for it, because you can do it. You can be better. You'll wake up better tomorrow. You'll wake up stronger, and you're going to achieve these dreams that you set for yourself. Righto, that's me out. Woo! We did it. Another podcast done. Hope you enjoyed the one today, guys. As I said before, going solo and going deep with you today. Keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. If you'd like to follow us and support the podcast on Instagram, Going Deep with Dan Good, or my own personal account, Dan_Good, or you can obviously subscribe to the YouTube channel and see the video, see us up close and personal. Nothing beats the visual, guys, but I love the audio platforms as well. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all those major platforms is where you can get the pod. Please tell your friends, share it around, let them know what we're doing here. Thanks for the support, guys. I really appreciate it. Later.